welcome to one-on-one session with thought leaders by Seekho. So let me tell you, Seekho is the first micro-learning platform, a community where you can learn anything under 1 minute. So basically, we meet seekers with the knowledge, right? We make them interact. So today we have Rajiv Ryan with us, and he has he has a decorated professional background and a very strong academic background as well. So let's hear from Rajiv directly here. Rajiv, could you just please introduce yourself for our viewers so that they can get to know you better?
Sure, thank you. So hi everyone, my name is Rajiv Ryan, and I've got a total of 8 years of experience in HR and been specifically involved in recruiting and specifically tech recruiting. I have worked with one of the largest tech giants in the world, and I am currently a part of a large tech giant and internet company as well. I currently am involved in hiring senior tech talent with respect to HR.
All right, so that's a very crisp, and our audience must already be excited to know and for this, looking forward to this session. So let's not waste any time and let's jump to the Q&A. So let's start with the first question. So Rajiv, according to you, what tips you would give to a budding HR professional, or probably a fresher as well? Like, what would be the top tips that you would give to a person?
Cool. So anyone who's starting their career in HR, right? So HR stands for human resources, and if human is there in the human resources. So the first thing I would like to tell anyone who's starting their career in HR is that you need to be really open-minded. You need to be able to network. You need to be able to understand a lot of systems, policies, culture. I personally have had the best learning experience in my initial part of my career. We are mentors both in the company as well as outside the company, learning from, let's say, videos on YouTube and just online material as well. So when you start your career over here, being open-minded and the ability to network is super important. Also, a really important thing is the ability to unlearn and relearn things, because probably you would have learned a few things at college or at university or wherever you come from, but probably the company would work in a little different way, and you'd be used to a new culture, etc. So that's going to be critical for you.
Right. So those were the technicals. So what if I ask you the same question, but from a perspective of a beginner? If you want to summarize the role of an HR to a person who doesn't know about HR at all, so how would you summarize it in the most simplest manner?
Sure. So you can in the most simplest way would be an advocate. So every HR is an advocate, facilitator, and advisor. So this can be from various perspectives. Like, I'm an advocate for my candidates who are looking for roles. I'm also an advocate for my hiring managers who are trying to get the right talent in. A HR generalist can be an advocate for the employees with respect to solving their issues, making the workplace a much better workplace for them. Improving things and standards at the workplace, etc., etc. So, in short, I would say that HR is an advocate and facilitator, can also be a psychologist, can also be, teacher. There are a lot of ways, but the first word which comes to my mind is advocate.
All right. That's a very crisp question. There's a very crisp answer from you, and I believe that beginners can have a better understanding now about the HR role. So coming on to the next question. So how do you direct and drive a positive work environment at your workplace, in your team, and among your peers?
Good question. So this is something which probably any company is working towards improving, and the best way to spread positivity is it can start with a simple thing like a smile, right? So making the workplace much more employee friendly, having much more employee friendly benefits and policies. So something as simple as maybe once a week before you start your week, probably on a Monday or a Tuesday. Given that we're all working virtually right now, you can have maybe a video call or a video meeting or whatever, and just have a kind of a fun activity or watch a motivating video together. So that's one method. The second thing is this also has a lot to do with individuals by themselves, right? So everyone has a spot for happiness and has a way to get more positive. So it's finding that spot, but it can be as like, for example, if someone is really interested in cricket as a sport, or let's say badminton, they should play badminton before they start their day, or they end their day while playing badminton. You know,
Right.
so these kind of things, like once if like you're able to find out about each employee and what is their kind of likings, passion, interest, things which make them happy, and you can build a platform or customize it in such a way that they are able to do these activities either before their job or after their job. That would directly impact the positivity and happiness of the workplace.
That's pretty fair enough. That's a great answer from you. So coming to the next question. So while you are recruiting a person, while you are interviewing a candidate, so what are the top traits do you look for? What are how do you analyze that this person is a good fit for the company?
So the first thing you need to look at is culture fit. Every company has their own kind of culture, which things which are acceptable, things which are not acceptable, mission, etc. Second thing you also need to look at is motivation, right? Like, so a candidate may want to interview for various motivations. To just list a few, some maybe an exciting new project, for example, or some maybe that this location I need to relocate back to city X because my family is over there and hence I would like to interview. Some it can be with respect to level and designation, etc. So understanding the motivations of why someone wants to interview is super important. And the third part is obviously the technical skills. When I say technical skills, I'm not referring to technology, but I'm referring to skills or competencies which are needed for the job. Now, the truth be told, you're never going to find somebody who's 10 on 10. It's practically impossible to find someone who exactly fits your bill. But probably someone who can come in and there are things which are coachable and which are learnable as well. So if someone matches, let's say 7 upon 10 with respect to skills, competency, having the culture of your company, having the same vision and motivation, that's good enough to move ahead.
Right. So basically, there's no single point you need to work on. You have to analyze a lot of things while you are recruiting a person. So
Exactly.
once you are done recruiting a person, so what do you exactly think that what leads to that employee's success in his role? What are the key factors that play a key role in his success?
So this is a personal belief as well. Like, my personal belief is that any employee is responsible for their own success. So and yeah, like there are you can do really well in your interviews, but let's say that project is not for you, or like I've landed into something which I was not looking for, then that's not a problem with the individual, but it's just that expectations were a bit different. But for someone to be successful, it's all on them. Like, they need to put in the effort, time, invest in learning stuff, etc. Obviously, the manager does play a good role as well in like motivating and teaching and mentoring, etc. And also the dynamics of the team with respect to having a buddy or having a peer guide the person who newly joined. But personally, for me, I feel that every individual is responsible for their own success. So it's on the employee themselves or the person themselves to move and be successful in their career.
Fair enough. That's completely true. So there's this concept that is called EQ. I keep hearing it, but as a person who's not in this particular field doesn't understand what EQ is. So can you just brief about what exactly is EQ?
The EQ is an emotional coefficient, just as you have IQ, which is which is more on your intelligence, right? So this is more from an emotional angle. So to give you a very rough example, let's say that maybe someone at home, right, like who stays with you, is going through a bad time or is having a bad day, and you probably ask them something like, "Can you give me a glass of water?" or even just, "How are you doing?" And they react and they start shouting at you, or they react a bit badly. So EQ is having the emotional intelligence to be able to understand why that person is doing such as such, and that the person is not bad by themselves, and then react accordingly. So it's a very important form of intelligence. It's key in people, moving ahead in their career and relationships and whatnot. It's much more important than IQ. It's basically knowing how to react for a situation and what to do and understand a lot more context.
Right. So IQ measures the brain and EQ measures the person as a whole, in short, you can say. So Right. So how do exactly HRs incorporate this EQ concept while, hiring candidates, while, evaluating them?
So that is more specific from a company perspective. Like different companies have different ways, right? But if I need to give it to you in a very general way, like anybody, like there are some things which are non-negotiable at any company. Like for example, ethics, right? Like if you're talking to, let's say, a potential candidate for your company, and let's say the person is known to be rude. A very, very simple example, right? That's a no-brainer. Like such kind of person wouldn't. No company would entertain someone who's rude or unprofessional or arrogant, etc. So there is no way to judge this as such, because it's a very, very it's a very, very deep and intense science by itself. And this is something which you probably learn out of practice and online or whatever. But I would say, like from an EQ standpoint, you can probably look at it from the culture of the company. Like if the company wants people who are, every company wants people who are very respectful to others, right? So let's assume that this person is not respectful, then it's indirectly linked to this, right? So yeah.
Okay, so that's actually fair enough. Like it's a variable term basically to incorporate, right?
Yes.
So if we have a trade-off between IQ and EQ, according to you, which one would be more important, and how much weightage would you give to like one of them or both of them?
So EQ would win this, in my opinion. And the reason for that is you can be the best, you can be the most intelligent person in the room, but if you're a pain to work with and you don't have empathy and don't understand others, it's going to be not good for the company, not good for your team, and not good for yourself as well. IQ is important. Don't get me wrong. Like you need to know. You need to understand stuff and come up with ideas and all of that stuff. But there is something about being human and understanding where the other person is coming from, and like goals and targets and missions and visions can only be achieved like from a team effort, and not from like a one-man army kind of a thing. That's how at least most companies work. That's the whole concept of having a company. So I would say that EQ is probably 3 times more important than IQ.
That's really insightful. Like I didn't even, I was like on that page that I was giving IQ more importance, but okay, now my perspective is changing. I'm pretty sure that this is going to help the viewers as well. So I'm pretty sure there must be many conflicts in the while you're working, there must be conflicts in the company, among departments. So when HRs come face to face, how exactly do you solve these conflicts, solve the disputes? What are the key things to be kept in mind?
So while dealing with any conflict, right, not just HR, like any conflict at a workplace, one of the first things to keep in mind is data, right? Most often or not, it is not the problem with the individual, but it is the problem with the situation or the action. Most people, their intentions are good. It's just that because, let's say, something is on an email, right? An email can be misunderstood very often, right? And if you're working in different geos, something which is very okay in India may be very offensive in, let's say, another country, right? So those kind of things may start conflicts. So one, if you have to resolve a conflict, the easiest way is pick up the phone or do a video call with someone and get more context over there. So that's the easiest way. With respect to HRs dealing with conflicts, the best way is look at the data presented in front, understand where the other person is coming from, because there's a lot which we do not know and a lot gets miscommunicated. Because the reason why miscommunication happens is, as humans, we assume that the other person already knows the context and do not share context, whereas the other person does not. This happens a lot, very often with recruiters and hiring managers, right? Hiring managers typically run the business. They need people, they need talent to join their teams, and our core job is to find talent. Hiring managers, probably it's not their core job, but they are involved in it. So the way they would look at it versus the way we look at it is a lot different. So you need to have that chat with them. Over communicating is okay, so that people understand context. And the easiest way to resolve anything is over a phone call or a video call rather than a text or an email, because an email or text or a ping can be taken in multiple ways depending on how it is said.
Right, that's pretty fair enough. Coming to the last question, I believe that it's one of the most interesting questions that I stored for the last for you. Is that according to you, what is the most rewarding part of being a recruiter?
What I love the most is like when that candidate, probably puts up something on LinkedIn saying that, hey, you know what, it was my dream to get into this, to work on this. Thanks to the recruiter for making it happen. So that's very rewarding. And one of the most beautiful parts of being a recruiter is very similar to that of being, let's say, a doctor or let's say a engineer, right? It's a form of craftsmanship. When you look at the candidate joining the company, making an impact, being happy, his family being happy about it, telling stories about their journey, and let's say when they join and they do something really cool. So giving you an example of an engineer joining and then probably building a product which impacts at a very large scale, that's something pretty cool. It gives you that sense of happiness as well. Personally, when you see that someone join in and make an impact. So that personally for me is like huge. Like that gives me the kick.
I'm pretty sure that must be a very good feeling. So I believe that I have here exhausted all my questions, and this has been a pretty good session. All your answers were really informative and very crisp, and I'm pretty sure that everyone who will be hearing this session is going to learn immensely about the HR role specifically. So thank you so much, Rajiv, for sparing your time out of your busy schedule and spending time with us for Seekho. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me today. I enjoyed myself.